Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Special Edition Part 1. Following a successful Sun and Fun, it's time to look ahead to Oshkosh. Also, EAA boss Jack Pelton feels well prepared for what may be the biggest Oshkosh yet. Welcome to the special edition of Airborne Part 1. I'm your host, Kimberly Kay. Now that Sun and Fun is firmly in the rearview mirror and its massive crowd showed how successful aviation events can be, it's time to look forward to the long-awaited 2021 rendition of EAA AirVenture. In order to get a proper look at what this year's Oshkosh could look like, we video chatted with EAA boss Jack Pelton about what we can expect. Because of the massive numbers of people who attended Sun and Fun, combined with truly impressive advance ticket sales for this year's AirVenture, suggest that this Oshkosh could be the biggest one ever. A&N Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell chats with Jack Pelton, who seems a lot more confident about the future of Oshkosh than he was just a few months ago. But then again, much has changed since then, especially now with the CDC having lifted the mask mandate. While there was much prep for a specific number of restrictions, many of those are now relaxed. As we see the pandemic coming closer to an end, he is still being careful and is recommending all of us to do the same.
Good afternoon now, Jack Pelton up in Oshkosh. Good grief. It's 68 days to some event in Oshkosh at the end of July. What's new?
Well, I think the big news continues to be we are having AirVenture 2021, which at this time earlier this year and certainly at the end of last year, December, there was still a big question mark is how is that going to happen and how are we going to get to a place that a large gathering and event would be allowed to occur. There's been a kind of a confluence of good things coming together with the vaccine rollout happening at a pretty quick pace. I think we're kind of getting to the point now where everybody who wanted to get vaccinated has been vaccinated. Not probably where we'd like to see it. We'd probably like to see it at more than half of the population, but it's getting close. And then trying to work with the health departments and local authorities to make sure that we're fitting into the requirements they want to see, recognizing that they still kind of have that red flag in their back pocket that they could throw if they were concerned. We've been talking to them personally every 3 weeks. We get together, health authorities, hospitals, support services, the director of health, and go through kind of our thinking and protocols. And as you've seen, it's evolved from, honestly, probably January, February, we didn't have a clear path. We had to make a decision in May, which was the same as last year. But the people who were testing positive was still really high. Hospitalizations were high. Masks were definitely required. And we didn't know with the exhibitors at that point. Many of the exhibitors, as we saw at Sun and Fun, that was still too early for them to decide even for an April event. And so many of them, I think, are probably kicking themselves they didn't go because they had such a great crowd. But in December, they had to commit for that event.
After the break, Jack Pelton explains what we may expect from this year's AirVenture and what precautions they are taking. More after these messages.
Aviation Safety Resources is disrupting the market for aircraft emergency parachute recovery systems. ASR systems are smaller, lighter weight, and offer longer repack cycles than similar products available in the current market. ASR has a recovery system available for every type of aircraft: sport, experimental, light sport, general aviation, urban air mobility, vertical takeoff and landing, electric propulsion, and unmanned aerial systems. Find the right product for your aircraft at aviationsafetyresources.com.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
When adventure is calling, the Bory by Aero Volga is the plane you need to answer the call. Bory's composite design is simple, reliable, and economical, with impressive performance and no gimmicks. Designed for the wilderness and proven durability in a flight around the Arctic Circle, the Bory has what it takes to handle your next adventure. Featuring 2 large cargo compartments, a comfortable modern cockpit, and a Rotax 912 power plant, the Bory Amphibian is now available in Canada. Experience the Bory for yourself at flightsimple.com.
Welcome back. Jack Pelton talks all about the preparations they're making for Oshkosh 2021.
Attendees are strong. We've pretty close to getting sold out again on exhibitors.
Excellent.
We've done some things that are going to be different this year, and we'll see if some of that might hold into the future years. The big one with the exhibitors going into the April-May timeframe, or March, April, May, was we knew we had to spread them out. We knew that to get buy-in being inside of our hangars with what we were anticipating would be mask not required, recommended but not required, because that was the local thinking at the time that we needed to spread exhibitors. So we took 83 exhibitors out of hangars A, B, C, and D, and we moved them over to the north side of the campus where we had the Innovation Center, and repurposed those tents to put exhibitors.
Okay. It's a nice location.
Yeah, we think it will be. We'll see how that continues in the other years.
Easy walk for us. Yay.
Yeah, chip shot for you guys. The air show, we had to figure out. We got a 3-mile flight line, and almost everybody congregates right at Show Center. And so the team came up with a pretty clever idea of having basically 2 show centers, one north, one south. And we worked that out with the FAA folks and getting our air show box approval and what have you. And that will cause a natural separation to allow people to not feel like they're missing out by not being exactly in Show Center. It won't be applicable for all the acts, but certainly for most of the aerobatic acts, we can put 2 up at a time, north and south, and operate out of two boxes. So that's an interesting separation, because the question we kept getting was, all right, what about 6-foot separation? How do you manage that? And I think the reality check we had, and it kind of got validated at Sun and Fun, is people are going to do what people do, and we didn't want to get into a policing or enforcing function, because nothing good happens out of that other than you're stuck in the middle between 2 people having a fight. Yeah. And so we're trying to do things. It's not like the
aviation community is stubborn or anything.
But you've probably seen some of my comments post Sun and Fun is probably what was the most refreshing part of being at Sun and Fun was how people behaved. Yeah. I mean, people were just glad to be out. They were glad to be at an aviation event, happy to see their friends in the airplane. And I thought the civility was best I've ever seen. And even though it was hot and muggy, people wore masks. People didn't wear masks. Did anybody say anything? No, they just enjoyed being there, which was, I thought, fantastic.
Well, some of the pressure was off as well, because just a couple of days before the event, the governor had gotten rid of the mask mandate. So at that point, people could make their own decisions. And the interesting thing is that most people just were trying to be courteous of each other and work from there. And I saw a lot of examples of that in a case where somebody had to lead in. As a matter of fact, what I saw, a lot of people would have masks clipped to their shirt or something, and they just hold it up to their mouth if they had to lean in and talk to anybody at a booth. And I thought that was pretty slick and pretty courteous.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. And I kind of feel that way. If I'm walking up to a group that's masked, I respect the fact they're wearing it, and throw mine on. Most of the folks at EA have been vaccinated, so we feel good. We won't have a staff that will be at risk during the show.
After the break, Jack and Jim talk about changes to this year's Oshkosh and what events were canceled.
I believe that if people use the landing doctor training program, they will have less accidents, and eventually their insurance will go down and they will make a superior pilot. We do personal limitation checklists, which is the most important reason you need to fly with limits. We do ground proximity awareness training, and we do this with a crosswind. We've been operating 6 Bristells for 2 years without one insurance claim. The landing doctor program is working, and you're going to hear more about it.
Swift Fuels proudly introduces the Forever Avgas STC. One simple upfront purchase entitles the Forever STC certificate holder to receive all current and future Avgas STCs that the FAA issues to Swift Fuels. The best part? It's priced today at only $100, and the prepaid certificate never expires. Get your Forever Avgas STC today at swiftfuelsavgas.com.
Welcome back. As we wrap up part 1 of this special edition, Jack seems confident EAA is prepared for Oshkosh once again and is looking forward to bringing the band back together.
You know, we canceled the big, the concert, the large, every night there seems to be some form of a banquet that's about 1,000 people in our Eagle hangar. And we said, no, we're not going to do 1,000 people indoor kinds of close proximity events. So most of all of those, except for one, got canceled. The one we are having, we're reducing it to 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
So the forums and exhibits, we're still doing kind of the every other chair process at those, which, we have some benefit of size. Our Theater in the Woods, for example, seats over 1,000 people. So unless you're having Apollo night or one of those Burt Rutan nights or one of those kinds of things,
I was about to say it hit Burt night. Burt is always the draw.
That's 5,000 people. So
yeah.
So we can spread out in those areas. So we feel good that things are in place that we're not going to waver from, even as we get closer. We're not going to reduce the requirements. We committed locally that this is what we do, and everybody feels comfortable with it. And things have gotten better now. I think with the CDC latest no mask mandate, we're hoping there's no spike sometime between here and July, but because all the sporting events turned on immediately.
Yeah.
The baseball teams all went back to 100% attendance, at least by June 1. So we're excited.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Airborne Special Edition. Make sure to watch part 2 in the near future. This show is an interview series designed to bring special attention to topics of critical importance to the aviation community. This show will be now a regular part of Airborne programming roster in the near future. Your suggestions for interview topics are always welcome, and feel free to comment on our social media pages. Thanks for watching.